Hello, I am Beau.
And I am Don. The election is over. America is safe. But the $200 I sacrificed to the victory will never return.
You donated $200?
I donated $200. Biden got $150, and Warnock and Ossoff both got $25. I guess they spent it well. But I'm getting $1,400 back, so it evens out. It's a good investment.
That's right, because they're still planning to give us the rest of that $2,000.
Yeah, I'm getting the rest of my money.
So what do you think? What do you think? Is there a snowball's chance in hell that the Senate will convict? Is there a snowball's chance in hell?
I honestly don't. You know what? This year has done nothing but surprise me.
What's funny is we bitched about 2020 and 2021.
This is kind of kicking ass. I'm not gonna lie.
There was
it
a guy.
Sucks, but it's weird.
There was a guy LARPing as a bad guy from the first Conan movie. Invaded the Capitol building.
So much the year is we're half a month into the new year, and I can't keep track because the Republicans lost the Senate in an election they should have won. And then I forgot about that because the next day our Capitol was besieged by our competition on the podcasting circuit. Which is why we're starting this up again, by the way, regularly.
Right. The reason
all the right-wingers are in prison because they...
And you're going to listen to us now.
Nature abhors a vacuum.
No. So, the guy that was fully barbarianed out, did you know his mom has said in the press that he hasn't eaten in days because they refused to give him vegan meals in prison?
I felt lame because I recognized that guy on...
It's true.
I recognized that guy on the news. I was watching it, and it was like 9/11. I was watching it in the office with everyone else. Everyone was just speechless.
It's actually not funny. It was
it was.
It's not funny. It was terrible. Then it was terrible.
And then I see the guy with the horns on his head, and I point... I know that guy.
But that's what I mean.
He's from Arizona.
That's what I mean. Here's the thing. When that whole thing was going down, it was terrible. It was terrible the whole time I was hearing about it. And then when I went home and watched it, it was fucking hilarious. It was terrible at first.
I was
you can
not,
ask Adam, I was beside myself.
I was not old enough to enjoy what they were trying to tell me. And then a day later, a man tased his balls until he died. Okay.
Did that really happen?
No. Wait, yes.
So
Snopes
hard.
may have fact-checked it by asking his wife if it happened, and she said no. But look, we live in a post-truth world, and this is the truth America needs for healing right now.
So Don and I both talked about it before we got on here. We haven't played video games in a long time.
No,
so we're probably not going to talk a lot about video games, but let's keep this ball rolling.
Yeah,
We didn't talk.
How did we get here? How did it come to this?
Here's the thing. We haven't, we've always been a pretty political podcast, but we're always kind of demure about it.
Yeah.
Because we understand that most people that listen to podcasts are Nazis.
Because we're defeatists. And we know.
It was hopeless. And now hope has welled up, and, the other side is breaking down so bad. Dude, I read where Pence had his first meeting with Trump a couple days ago. They hadn't spoken in 5 days. Could you imagine Pence hey man, you want to tell me what the hell that was? It'd be like if Anakin hadn't cut Grievous's head. I mean Dooku's head off.
Yeah.
And Dooku's showing up later and he looks at Palpatine and he's like, hey man, what the fuck was that?
We have to the guy in charge of Parler's name was Monster. His surname is Monster, and that one hero cop's name was Goodman. I can't make fun of Hideo Kojima anymore.
Dude, no.
For his naming conventions.
By the way, kudos to that officer who led them on that wild goose chase.
Yeah, I wouldn't know.
Dude, that was awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, that's what he did. He kept baiting them, and he ran them around the Capitol building for dude, awesome.
That was
awesome.
That was
bravo.
A+ tanking, keeping the aggro on him.
Absolutely, dude. Bravo. It was just... It was the strangest thing, and normally we prided ourselves on relating the news to a video game,
because
and
it's the only reference point we have.
but we
look,
don't.
There's no political relevance to Southern Indiana anymore. So,
but here's the thing. I don't have anything. Even Hideo Kojima's work, I've gone through the whole thing. I can't find anything Fat Man shows up at the Capitol invasion, laugh, and grow fat.
All these people that a lot of them were just they were brought up Republican, and they never questioned where the Republican Party was going. And a lot of the people who are aghast at this should have known where they were going and why these people believe what they do.
Everyone that keeps saying, I just didn't see this coming. Like, this is the logical end game of what has been happening for the past 4 years.
But they took different journeys. There's a lot of different... like, people... Like, the FBI saying... Like, the FBI is aghast at this, not because of... Not because the plan was so well laid out that they couldn't see it. It's because there were so many plans developing that just had one central focus on Trump.
Right.
Like, there are many paths to Trump. The event horizon is very stupid around this man. And there's a very clear generational divide as to how you got into the orbit of this fat man and couldn't escape. So, for people like millennials, we like to say we're better than them, and we generally are. I mean, it's a very low bar, very low bar. But there are a lot of but when you get to our generation, especially Generation Z, unfortunately, the kids are not all right; they're alt-right. They're communists or alt-right. So
it's one or the other. It's one or the other.
Look,
yeah.
I mean, the joke was socialism or barbarism, and unfortunately, history has yet to disprove that maxim. So you got to choose your side. But anyway, but there's just from the millennials on down, it's socialism or barbarism. And why do people, especially white men like us, choose barbarism?
Why do they?
Why do they literally cloak themselves in furs and horns and storm the Capitol?
And I think,
like the fall of Rome.
I think we have finally, like Barbarossa, I think we have finally come to a segue, and that is, why the fuck do kids that grew up playing strategy games become Nazis?
Or shooters, but mostly strategy. But strategy games are really...
No, shooters wind up stoners.
It's true.
They always discover weed in high school, and they get better at Call of Duty because of it, and it just goes from there. but
strategy games is where the
is
communist...
Is it the subject matter?
It's where the communist and fascist divide really... Because
not down the middle, by the way.
They're
not down the middle.
You don't play Hearts of Iron to be a liberal Democrat. I mean...
You don't play Hearts of Iron because you're one of the people that murdered Rosa Luxemburg. You play Hearts of Iron because you're Rosa or you're the Kaiser.
Yeah. Okay, so a lot of, young men who are a little smarter than dumb, that's a very dangerous place to be. It's a very, very dangerous place to be.
I love that.
A little smarter than dumb.
Yeah.
Because then you feel like, what is my IQ? I need to. I can't define myself by girls or sports. So I must be a nerd. I must be smart, and that must mean that people are dumb around me, which must mean there is a hierarchy, of which I am naturally on the top. But I am not on the top. There are people who are dumber than me, doing better at life.
They become Ivo Robotnik.
Getting better grades. Generally getting more out of life and being better and more respected. So clearly there is something wrong with society. It is ordered incorrectly.
Time to buy a Rick Sanchez t-shirt.
And that is historically the demographic of a fascist. A little smarter than dumb, but there's a reason they're not on the top. One, it's because they're not rich, and capitalism refuses to let anyone new into the club. But they don't see that.
Well, what's funny is a lot of fascists start off extremely critical of capitalism, but then they're like, wait a minute, it's good, it's just not working right.
I'm just not on the top.
We just need to fix it. It's not working right. That's don't replace it. Don't get rid of it. It's the best thing in the world.
Hierarchy is natural. It's just perverted by them.
Exactly. So then that creates a vacuum. Nature hates a vacuum, and they must define them.
Yes. And there's plenty of them around.
There's tons of thems, and they have their pick of the litter.
And another thing, when you're a little smarter than dumb, you're like, as a smarter than dumb, I avail myself of classical literature. So they buy books by dead Greek men and carry them around. Don't actually read them, but they will drop them in front of teachers and girls. Oh, I'm sorry, my Aristotle.
Aristotle believed there were 5 aspects of happiness.
And 2 genders.
So, dude, that is Yeah, that's exact. Or
And-
military history
Yes,
is another
yes.
big one.
Military
They
history is a
love
very big one.
military
it's
history.
a big path line to extremism around here.
Beca-
Neo-Confederatism.
because military history also ties into the what they get out. They get out of military history what they also get out of these strategy games. And
A sense of authority. And,
so
yeah.
I think we need to address the Xenos in the room. We talk a lot about Warhammer 40K. We love Warhammer 40K.
Yes.
But for lack of a better term, I'm just gonna have to do the smarter the dumb thing here. I feel like we enjoy it because we kind of get what they were going for, and I feel like a lot of people just don't, because it's in the tagline.
Yeah.
In the grim darkness, not the perfect fucking paradise, the grim darkness of the far future.
Yep.
But people look at this and they're like, no, dude, this is like, they just kill everyone that's different from them. That's awesome.
And like when you look at the literature, quote unquote literature, I say literature with I'm being sarcastic with a very heartfelt affection because I literally just read every Gaunt's Ghost novel.
I'm sorry. Dan Abnett's a good writer.
He's a very good writer.
He's an amazing author.
And I don't really like military fiction, but I do like the set. There's parts of those books that I really liked. It's not really so much the it's the human aspect of it all. But
yes,
but there are a lot of people who are just there for the porn of shooting things
and the
and military brotherhood.
And what's funny is Dan Abnett and the other authors of the Black Library Games Workshop is very aware of what their setting's trying to say,
and they're very much trying to change that.
They are actively trying to weed the Nazis out of their fandom.
Yeah.
God bless you, Games Workshop. You're actively trying to do.
And we'll get to that, but just about every strategy game maker is trying that.
Now there are some where the concept they kind of know what they're asking for. Hearts of Iron, surely
very much trying to get the Nazis out.
Surely you realize. Now you are a big Hearts of Iron fan. I don't think I've ever played it. But
let's just say my experience. There's one thing I really like to do in Hearts of Iron, and that's play the Republic in Spain. So you can go through the Spanish Civil War and try to let the good guys win. And it's always a nail-biter because you don't have any time to prepare. And you always get backstabbed by the liberal democracies who want to make nice with Hitler. And the Soviets always come through with you, but at a price. It's always a little too high to pay. And
Edward VII sends that letter to Hitler, and you're like, damn it.
But then you win.
Can you get Hemingway as a unit if you play the Republican Army?
No. Well, he's in there. He's probably dead by the time I'm done with him, though.
Like, does he have his yacht with the guns?
No. It's just square blocks. The units are square blocks for divisions, regiments.
Oh.
It's all very official. It looks like it would on a military map, which is why Nazis love it. Like, when I am at top of the general killing liberal tards. Libtards, I think, is the operative term for them. But that'd be me. That's me. That's my future job. That's my It's like the communists saying my future job in the commune is re-educating the Nazis so that they understand that they're working class and should be with us.
Now, do you think a lot of strategy, like you just made the claim that Hearts of Iron knows what it's doing?
It's
Paradox, correct?
Paradox. They know what they did wrong and they're trying to change.
So,
yes.
Do you think that do you think
I'm pretty sure the corporate world is aware that Nazis are a problem and are trying.
No, I mean, do you think that they marketed towards these people specifically, but now they're getting called out on it? They have to walk it back.
I think they didn't realize that people weren't in on the joke.
So because let's StarCraft. Okay. Let's talk StarCraft for a minute. The Confederacy. And everyone in space in the future is from Alabama. All of them.
That's a funny joke. And then
see, exactly. It's a funny joke, and then
I can't laugh at it anymore.
See, it's because people have ruined it.
There were so many good jokes about Hitler in the 30s, and then it became really sensitive after, and you can't tell them anymore. There seriously were, but it's all sad because the guy who wrote that joke is dead in a ditch somewhere.
Yeah,
you got a good dig in, man. I don't know who you were, but yeah. One of the survivors of the Hindenburg. Funny story. When the Hindenburg blew up, there was a lot of talk about sabotage because how could a giant balloon of hydrogen gas explode? Made by Nazis. How could something so perfect and Aryan explode like that? Well, obviously someone put a bomb in there, and the prime suspect, according to the Nazis, was a acrobat who was a known communist. Who was
Who swung up there?
He was.
Is that what they're saying?
He jumped off. He survived. He survived the. He jumped off the Hindenburg as it was exploding like an action hero.
He was a real survivor?
He was a survivor. He was an acrobat. He probably didn't do it, but he was on this flight full of Nazis, and he was making anti-Nazi jokes the whole way through the whole Atlantic ride through, which is a pretty baller move. There's not a whole lot of ways to escape. He's just like, what? Come at me, bro. I'm an acrobat. He's just like, there's like some Nazis trying to fist of the North Star. I mean, he's just dodging them all.
You were already dead. Real quick, because we talked about Zeppelins and how Nazis take a lot of pride in the Zeppelins, almost a symbol of pride for Nazis. I didn't know this. I'm actually actively reading. It sounds stupid because I'm wearing the shirt, but I'm actively reading Led Zeppelin's biography, Hammer of the Gods. One of the first biographies written about them. And apparently they did a show in Denmark, and a woman named Von Zeppelin, who apparently was a descendant of the person who created the Zeppelin, was so insulted that this hippie rock band was using the proud Zeppelin name, and she went and accosted them on stage. They couldn't perform their show, and they had to stop. And apparently Jimmy Page and Peter Grant, the band's guitarist and the band's manager, calmed her down. But on the way out, she saw the first album cover, which is their first album cover was the Hindenburg exploding, and she blew up again. Blew up.
Yeah.
But Zeppelins have a bad habit of doing that. And she came back, and so, yeah, it's the symbol of, but...
Okay, so,
yeah.
What when you're playing a strategy game, like, there's a lot, like, not just, like, Hearts of Iron, like, let's go back a little bit. Like, maybe Empire Earth is a good one. I played a lot of that growing up, but they came up with single player scenarios.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the United States invading Germany, it gets boring after a while, because after a while you're just hunting for that last Protoss pylon on the map.
Right.
So you need something with a little bit more of a challenge, and you need an underdog. And unfortunately, the Nazis are underdogs by their own fault, because they keep. Let's just face it, they suck.
Yeah, I mean they lost the war.
Yep. So the Empire Earth modern campaign is Germany. You start in World War I, then it jumps to World War II, and it ends with Operation Sea Lion as a success.
Really?
Yes, it's a very engaging mission. I'm not gonna lie. And to their credit, they don't. Okay, they really, really dodge the Nazi stuff. Like
how do you play as Germany?
They put Rommel in charge, and they do the clean Wehrmacht.
Oh, Rommel!
Myth.
Rommel was the Rommel was the good.
That was
Nazi.
a very big thing, because History Channel always had documentaries saying, "Look, guys, if you like the Nazi imagery, if you like the aesthetic of military prowess that makes those libtards angry, Rommel's right there, and he tried to kill Hitler.
Is that even true? Is that even true?
He probably
tried
to get rid of. He might have tried to get rid of Hitler, but at that point,
is it even true that Hitler made him kill himself? Is that even true?
I honestly don't know. I don't really care.
There's so much myth surrounding it. Yeah, but yeah, Rommel is Rommel's the. You know what? You could be into Rommel with them. It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that kid at church that listens to black metal.
Yeah, it's
like I listen to Immortal because they sing about mythology, not Satan. So it's all good.
It's like you wind up seeing a lot of people like, man, Hitler's Germany would be so much cooler if Hitler hadn't done the crimes. I mean, Al Capone would have been so much cooler if he had done everything right but legal.
Hey, Adam, I got your amp.
Okay,
about it.
Anyway, they do, but to balance that. To balance the clean Wehrmacht myth, they put in a very cool American who comes in to stop you, and it's actually one of the big turning points of the map. If you do not stop the American fleet from landing in England, there's no real way you win. So okay. So that's just like a case in point. It's the 90s. Nazis are dead. They're not coming back. The evil has been defeated,
and there wasn't this surge of
the
global shift to the right hadn't happened.
So the history ended. It's not going anywhere. So now we can have fun with it. So like Operation Sea Lion. Now wouldn't that be interesting to see? And it was, but now that it actually did happen, the Nazis won. It just took a while.
Yes. God.
Yeah, now Britain is under siege
Did you
by itself.
Is Empire Earth the one where the medieval campaign is Richard the Lionheart?
I think
Is that
so,
the one
yeah.
I'm thinking of?
It might be. I don't know.
I really like the Richard the Lion. In whatever game that was, it was Empire's Dawn of the Modern World, something like that.
And when you're playing these games as, a smarter than dumb guy, a kid, I need to demonstrate my superior intellect. So I'm going to identify very heavily with portraits of Enlightenment or kings and quote people out of context. Or I'm gonna say nonsense quotes that have nothing to do with the conversation, just to make sure people know that I know those quotes.
A lot of Nietzsche.
Yeah,
a lot of which actually, because black metal is another thing that's been co-opted by the alt-right, but it always has. Because let's face it, the bands that made that music were horrible people objectively. They were horrible people objectively. But one thing I read one time was like, no, the Nazis don't get to have this. The Nazis don't get to take strategy games away from us. They don't get to take black metal away from us. They don't get to take even Nietzsche away from us. Like, we can still have these things. We just have to reject this smarter than dumb guy. And it's so true. And so we do want to be sure, don't hate Hearts of Iron. Yeah, Hearts of Iron's a good game. They don't get to take that from you.
Yeah, and they're it's one of those things. It's like studying the American Civil War. Those that smarter than dumb guy gets a book that says, it wasn't just about slavery. In fact, it wasn't really at all about slavery when you get right down to it. Ooh, he's in that smarter than dumb, knows a little bit territory.
Yep. And my favorite thing about that was I saw something the other day where it was hey man, the Civil War, that was about states' rights. And the guy goes, states' rights to... And the guy goes,
he said the word.
He goes, states' rights to do what? And then the other guy gets really angry.
Yeah. But the Confederacy has... people like to do what if historic... what if the Confederates had done this? Mm. What if they had freed the slaves? Wouldn't that have made material sense in terms of manpower and diplomacy with Europe? Yeah, but why were they fighting? They specifically, these arguments, we don't have to argue this. These arguments were made in Confederate Congress. Yeah. People were taking notes.
Right.
But when people play video games, you know what? Playing the North, what are you doing? You're gonna win. I want to play the South. Because I'm smarter than dumb. Maybe I can do things differently and make history turn out the way it should have, where I would be on top because of my superior heritage. And it's the same thing with World War games. With World War I, you can kind of get away with it because they're not outright Nazis.
The Kaiser was certifiably insane, but he wasn't a Nazi. Exactly. He was, but he wasn't. Let's put it this way. When they put those Nazi guards outside his house during World War II, he wasn't bitching. Yeah. He was fine with it.
He did write a lot of letters to Hitler saying, I really back what you're doing to France. Can I come home? Can I crash on your couch? I don't need to be in charge. I just want to be emperor.
Which I don't know what he was bitching about. He lived in Sweden, for fuck's sake. It couldn't have been bad. But it was Sweden, wasn't it?
But or something like it. I can't remember.
I think it was Sweden.
I don't care.
It's not important.
I don't care. I'll look it up later when I don't. Well, it'll keep me up at night, but I don't care right now. Okay, so it's the underdog thing. Let's change history, and how do you change World War II history? Well, there's a lot of ways you can do that, usually for the worse. And Germany is the big problem functionally with a World War II game, where you start before World War II, is Germany is the instigator. If you as Germany decide to change history by making war not happen,
there's no
the game is pretty boring.
Yeah, there's no game.
When I play Republic in Spain, I generally recognize that I am in no condition to fight Hitler, so I just don't. I just let France and the Allies handle it. But in one specific game, Germany conquers the world except for me. So I just sit there I guess I'm going to build an army to save the world. It's just going to take a while. The year is 2035.
Like you're just Johnny Cashing it, taking one part of your army at a time home with you, so they don't notice.
I built an elite corps of paratroopers and deployed shock troopers to every capital in the world to spark a worldwide workers' uprising against the tyrannical Nazi regime. It was the greatest thing I ever did in the game, and I'm not going to play it again.
There's a guy who played Civ 3. And he made an unwinnable game.
Yeah, I remember that.
And he was literally on Reddit, like, guys, like, I don't know what to do because they were on the verge of nuclear war every turn. Like, it was the year, like, no one went to space.
Yep.
No one had been to space yet. It was like the year 3050. And like there was 3 countries left, and they just sat with their finger on the trigger every turn. And he's like, I don't know what to do.
It's the grim darkness of the far future. So yeah, when you're thinking like a gamer, Hitler had Germany has to start the war for the game to start.
Right. There's no game without the Munich Beer Hall March.
Yeah. And with Hearts of Iron 4, they did a lot of really fun things because they recognized shit.
By 4, they realized, you know, shit.
What is functionally our protagonist nation that makes the narrative happen is atrocious and does not deserve to win.
Yes.
How do we've already made it so that it's very hard for Germany to win. In fact, next to impossible unless the gamer is really good. But so they come up with event trees. Okay, you want alternative history? Well, how about this? How about Nazi Germany collapses into a civil war with Goering because of all the inter-party fighting. How about that? That's fun. You can have that. That's a really fun scenario.
That is kind of
like Trotsky survives in the Soviet Union. Now you've got a fun Soviet Civil War.
He went to Mexico and just drank and enjoyed his life for the rest of the time. Like no one ever showed up to kill
him. The United States. Huey Long. He becomes president. And now the Comintern is stronger than the Allies. And you've got a weird Cold War happening between the fascists, the Allies, and the Comintern with President Huey Long and his 87 Supreme Court judges, all named Long. with everyone getting $1,400 a month, free health care, a moon base, happy fun times. In the happy fun times of the far future, everyone's last name is Long. But we don't live in we live in nightmare world without Huey Long.
Right.
So. But anyway, those are all fun alt history, and Hearts of Iron 4 is it like okay, this is historically how things. If you want alt history, you don't have to just help Hitler. You can take other but.
It doesn't have to be a Harry Turtledove novel.
Yeah. But there are a lot of people who just play those games. Like, I want to see. I'm smarter than dumb, but I'm not a Nazi. There are people out there who are like that, who are just apolitically smarter than dumb.
Yep.
They might vote Republican every now and again because they think they deserve a turn. You're smarter than dumb.
Oh,
but just
I don't really
centrist,
I don't
yes.
I don't
to bring it back to our first podcast, the reasonable centrist.
The reasonable centrist. Yes,
I'm above it all.
I'm not foolish enough to take a side.
It's been 4 years since they stormed the Capitol. I think they've learned their lesson.
Don't do that. Don't. God.
It's gonna happen, dude.
I know it's gonna happen.
It's been a week and it's happening.
It's been a week, Don.
Okay, but there are people out there who just want to game history. That's literally what they did. They made a game about history.
Yeah.
But yeah, they just want to say, what if Hitler had not invaded Poland? Hitler was going to do that.
Yeah.
You can't change that part about him.
Yeah.
Like, well, what if we did this? Well, a lot of things Hearts of Iron lets you do all that, and it even lets you justify it because if you want to not invade Poland, you have to go down a specific tree. So, Germany not invading Poland means something else had to happen. Poland had to become a puppet state through some other means, and if that doesn't happen, the game doesn't happen.
Right.
It's just how you navigate alt history. It's just a thing, and there are people who are now the reason that people get so involved in these games is because they're mostly political. It's not just a military game; it's a political game.
Correct.
Because military is a extension of politics by other means. I think you will find this is Clausewitz. Here's his book that I have because I'm smarter than dumb. Also, he's my profile pic on Facebook. Back the blue.
You did.
God.
Bro, you probably didn't get it, but that's okay. I'll explain it to you.
Oh.
It's just such a condescending mentality. It's just a very it's the Rick and Morty shit is what it is.
Like,
That's what it is.
They're smart. That must mean there are dumb people that they can lord it over, but they keep struggling to find anyone who's dumber than them.
And they struggle to find people dumber than them almost as much as they struggle to find any accolades that they could use to prove how smart they are.
So that's why they're always being like it's like with our competition, the right-wing podcasters who are always putting on a show of intellectualism, whereas we are just dressed like this. And talking about video games because, let's face it, it's the only thing we have control over.
I've got something
in
in
our
my
lives.
throat. Rogan! Gosh, that's crazy how that happens.
But yeah.
Dude, he's like the whole 9 yards, too. He's got the whole UFC thing and everything. The I do drugs because I'm expanding my mind bullshit.
There's another game that does this really well, and it's War in the Pacific. The whole basic...
Was that a strategy game?
Yes,
I thought that was a shooter.
It is a very... It is the most strategy of strategy games. It is
really? High praise for
it
you.
is it is a game about the Pacific War. You play as Japan or the United States, and your goal is to go through basically Pearl Harbor. It starts with Pearl Harbor. You can choose alt history mode to not attack Pearl Harbor, but generally you're going to.
It's the problem. You didn't invade Poland problem.
You're gonna try. By the time the game is happening, it's the wheels were in motion.
Yeah.
So there are some people who mod it so that they go with somebody else's plan to just to go all in on Manila to go farther into Dutch East Indies, which has merit, but it won't win the war for Japan. And that's the central problem. That's the central beauty of War in the Pacific. When you're playing Japan, you're playing a different game. You're not playing to win. You're playing to hold out until 1946 for street cred because you're going to be toast. This game ends with Tokyo in nuclear fire, regardless of what you do.
Tokyo?
Yes. Generally because the AI has a hate boner for it. But yeah, there's the AI will just nuke whatever's handy. It always tends to be Tokyo for me. That is a perfect history strategy game. Japan has no way to win a war in which America doesn't give up. If you throw it's like walking straight out of the vault in a Fallout game and punching a Brotherhood of Steel soldier.
Right. Right.
There is one scenario where you win. That guy doesn't
care that
acknowledge
you. Yeah, that's the
that guy lets you have that. There's so many fun things about War in the Pacific, though. Like when you sink an American carrier right after Pearl Harbor, that's a game changer. Because now you have maybe a month or two of relatively safe waters that you don't have to worry about ships that you like. When Japan loses a carrier, that's a game changer for the United States because Japan can't replace ships. The United States built more transport ships than Japan did. The U.S. built more transport ships in 1944 than Japan built any ship over the course of the entire war.
Really?
Yeah, Japan cannot replace ships. So when you sink a carrier, those are the moments you live for. But the problem is you're going to have moments where you send planes off on a daring mission after a Japanese carrier and they get through the close air patrol. And oh my God, they made it through. My torpedo bombers are going in. They're turning back. Why? You didn't load them with torpedoes, you dumbass. I have to do that? Dude, there is a Excel spreadsheet that you did not pay attention to when you launched this strike. Those men are dying. Remember Larry? He went double ace last week.
I just like the idea of them going in. It's like, all right, we made it through, boys. I'm about to. Oh man!
I forgot the torpedoes.
Daggum, man, you forgot the torpedoes again.
Yeah.
Well, turn. I just like the idea of them signaling everybody. Turn back, turn back.
we
They went to sink the Bismarck. And they did.
break off the attack. We forgot our torpedoes.
That kills me. That's
It's a very like.
Do you know how mad I get at my kids when they forget? Like when I take them to school in the morning and they forgot a book they needed for school, and I got to turn back.
That's War in the Pacific. With more dead. So yeah, like there's a lot of strategies to make Japan last longer. You try to hyper focus on China to free up manpower to knock China out of the war. That's almost impossible. You can try to invade India to really mess with British supply lines. That's also impossible. You're going to lose, and that's the proper way to play an Axis nation. They're going to lose.
They're going to lose,
and they deserve to lose.
Yes.
Unless you change the nature of those nations, which is what Hearts of Iron 4 is trying to do. But
that's almost worse.
But
that's almost worse
honestly,
to make the kinder, gentler Nazi.
No, you're not kinder and gentler. You're more funny.
More.
Goering stabs Hitler in the back. Goering is even stupider than Hitler. So some other guy stabs him in the back, and the communists take over.
No, he's less smarter than dumb. He's less smarter than dumb.
He's less smarter than dumb. And then the communists take over. And everything's right in the world.
The dream of Marx. A Marxist Deutschland. Finally.
Like in all seriousness, if you could go back in time to 1913 and tell somebody, guys, there's going to be a terrible war, and from the ashes, a communist nation will arise. Oh, Germany's finally going to do it? Well, no. Here's the thing: a dark, fallen version of this communist Jedi is also going to arise. Oh. That would be Russia, right? Because if the Tsar goes down, all those nobles who are a little smarter than dumb, they're probably going to back a military regime. It's probably going to be based off. It's going to try to remedy the problems that socialism highlights, but while maintaining a hierarchy. You're so close to right. You're going to be really surprised that it's actually the reverse. Really? Russia becomes communist. How did that happen? Well, record scratch. You're probably wondering how this guy... Yep, that's me.
In 1916, the Tsar executed Lenin's brother, and it was all downhill from there. I'm still upset that in Civ games that Gandhi is a Indian leader, which he should be. I'm not upset about that, but he is for purely ideological reasons a leader. He was never a political leader in India, as far as I know.
Yeah.
He was an idiot. So why can't we have Marx as a German leader? Why do I have to be Frederick the Great in every goddamn Civ game?
Well, if you play Hearts of Iron, you can.
I can't be Frederick the Great in a World War II game.
If you mod it right, you can. You can be his great grand. You can be alt history where the Hohenzollerns never fell. It's actually one of the more popular ones. It's
actually in Sid Meier's memoirs. It was another moment. Like, first off, Sid Meier, you're brilliant. You made some of the most brilliant games ever. I love you. But you had a couple of what the hell, man moments in your memoir. And one of them was in Civ 1, he almost left out Germany entirely because he couldn't think of a German leader other than Hitler. That would make sense.
Oh.
Guy, you could have made it the Kaiser and been fine.
Remember the Simpsons joke where they were watching Jeopardy?
The capital of Hitler.
The statue of the capital.
No, the capital of is named after this German leader. And he goes Hitler, and they go it's Bismarck, and he goes. But no, that's what it was. It's like
it's just
Sid Meier's a marvelously educated man. He's brilliant.
He's got the History Channel brain rot that we all have.
But then finally, someone in the Microprose office was like, "What about Frederick the Great?" And he's like, "Oh, that's perfect. Like, of course, it's perfect."
Like he just did wacky, fun experiments with peasants. That's much better.
Oh yeah, he's
Look, there are no heroes. In
quite
history.
a dandy,
yeah,
quite a dandy. That Frederick the Great,
yeah.
But so, that's And that's kind of speaking to the opposite end, that whole there are no heroes in history. There was a show forever ago that nerds just get off on, and it was called Firefly. Do you remember Firefly?
Oh, yeah.
It really wasn't that good, but we're not allowed to say that. We have to pretend like it was brilliant. But I, at one point, thought it was brilliant. Then I got older, and I was like, this sucks.
Well, Nat and I have more access to things because, we grew up in Southern Indiana. We don't have a whole lot of options.
That's right. So when we got access to things, we realized some of the things we had access to weren't that good. But there's a line in it where it's like, every man that had a statue made of him was one kind of a son of a bitch or another. And it's like, but you know what? That's not really because it's kind of like we have to have it all or we can't have none.
Yeah,
it's kind of like you can't be smart if you just accept that there's variances.
It's like when you're trying to explain that the Civil War was complex without letting the person fall into the pitfall of, so it's about states' rights.
Yes, exactly.
It's like
exactly.
It's that timeline of nothing about the Civil War, and you say it's about slavery, and you're right. But you try to teach people it's a little more complex than that, but it's about slavery.
Right. That's exactly it.
More complex. So you're saying there's a chance I could be really smarter than you. You who say it's about slavery, I who am smarter than dumb, are a little bit more educated.
Now, other than Sid Meier's Gettysburg and I believe Antietam was the sequel, other than those two, are there any major Civil War strategy games that were ever made?
There are several. A lot of them are grognardy, like War in the Pacific, where the Confederacy you're trying to hold out.
Yeah.
Or they cheap out, like, you freed the slaves because you're a kind, just, and reasonable South.
How was the History Channel Civil War game?
It's just fun. That's just a fun.
There's
mess.
nothing intellectual to pick out of there.
No, it's just mess. This is a fun mess.
So it's very. And like we said, most shooter is just the kid that thinks it's rad. There's not really a whole lot of ideological nonsense going on there.
They might decide that they're all. If they buy into militarism, their only idea of militarism is going to be to the shooters, so they're going to echo the aesthetic of Call of Duty, which is why you have so many people wearing those skull masks.
Oh, the Punisher skull mask.
The tactical.
Oh yeah.
The tactical. Look at my tactical gear. I'm going to take down Nancy Pelosi.
Dude, and that's another thing is like I think we're all a little sick of the guy that refers to tactical reloads now.
Yeah,
we're all sick of that guy. But except for those guys.
Yeah,
they're not sick of them. But so what is the problem? Is the problem that these developers, because with Hearts of Iron, you were kind of like they knew what they were doing.
Yeah,
is
they
that
recognized
the issue?
problem,
or is
they tried to, and they're trying to stop it.
But is the issue just that the fact that you're not going to be able to keep these people away from co-opting militarism? You're not going to co-opting militarism.
There are always
wrong.
going to be people who really crave a high position in a hierarchy, and the aesthetic of power is just. It's just authoritarianism. It's in all of us. It's always going to be there. It's a dark side, and people are going to fall to it. Mm-hmm. You just need to, like all art, because video games are art, but like all art, you need to be all art is political. So you gotta anticipate that and address it. So if you're gonna make your game about Nazi Germany, you can't just ignore it. You have to address it in some way. You have to make the Nazis stupid. You have to be truth. You have to be, which is historically accurate, because they were really, really stupid.
Yes, they were.
They were profoundly, earth-shatteringly, hilariously, and tragically stupid.
I mean, the most glaring one in my mind. Now, I'm not a military history buff. I'm not. I have a passing interest in it, but to me, I remember World War I. The thing we were taught in school was that Germany messed up when it took on a two-front war. So Germany in World War II decided, I'm not falling for that trap. I'm starting a 3-front war.
And that's actually and this is a trap with historians, because it's like the trap that historians fall into when trying to tell someone about the Civil War. Well, it's a little more complicated. Hitler did fear a multiple front war. He did it
anyway.
His mistake was going to war at all, because any war was going to become that.
Right.
He thought he could get away with it, and he was wrong. When he invaded the Soviet Union, he actually made probably the best decision of the shit pile of choices he left himself.
Was there a problem with the History Channel too? Because I didn't watch a whole lot of it, but every
They ran
alt-righty guy I know, everyone,
Yeah.
when you start talking TV, all of them mention the History Channel. They love I don't watch TV, but I really like that History Channel. I liked it before they started showing Pawn Stars and stuff like that. When there was actual history, when you were learning something,
It was the Hitler Channel.
it really was.
And it's not like they were saying that Hitler was right. They were saying Hitler was wrong, but the Wehrmacht was cool. Which is boomer poison.
Yeah.
Like it's the Confederate flag bearing man in the Capitol saying, "Party of Lincoln, man. Party of Lincoln."
Look, man.
About states' rights.
look, man, I got no problem with me if you show me respect. That gentleman over there, that darker gentleman over there, he showed me respect, so I respect him. But it's always about it's always about the others showing respect. Like, if so long as I receive a level of deference when speaking to people, like...
And, more in your wheelhouse, RPGs, role-playing games. Are there people you have played role-playing games with where they're really getting into their roles to a disturbing degree?
So, role-playing games, especially in the 80s pen and paper one, because the 80s, I don't know if you know this about the 80s, Don, but in the 80s, there was no political self-awareness whatsoever in the world.
They wore it on their sleeves.
The Reagan did win all but one state in the 84 election. So in role-playing games, and even in MMOs are really bad about it because, like you said, all authoritarianism derives from power.
Yeah.
It's this lust for power. And
look how cool I am in this world.
So I'll tell you this much. I've never met a cool guild master. I've never met a cool one. They're all dickheads in some way or another. But so an RPGs, another thing is let's talk about JRPGs.
Okay.
JRPGs are very philosophical affairs because of Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy kind of set this bar to where you have to have the now this is for another time, but one thing I enjoy about JRPGs is they haven't fallen into the Marvel universe trap where your bad guy can't be a bad guy. You're not allowed to have a bad guy. You have to relate to him or understand him at some level. They made a whole movie about Thanos. Like, man, I get why he's doing what he's doing, which I don't get what he's doing because he could have just made more shit. Like, he had this glove that does everything he wants it to do, and he's like, I got to destroy half of I got to make this. It's the Nazi thing. Yeah. I'm a hard man.
Making hard decisions.
And I got to make this hard decision.
Because I'm smarter than dumb.
And that's what I don't like about those Marvel movies is like everyone watched that and they're like, you can relate to that though. You can understand where he's coming. No, you can't. It's stupid.
It's the moments where they try to be smarter than they are. Like,
yes.
That's not smart. It's just smarter than dumb.
It's perfectly okay to just have a villain. It's perfectly because all of history's villains were villains. Like, do you understand Hitler? Do you get where he was coming from? That's the problem. Some people do. And that's what I really love about like Sephiroth. Sephiroth's just certifiably insane. He does not perceive the world the way it actually is, and it's leading him to do terrible things. Does he need help? Probably 10 years ago. It's too late now. Like, we're just going to have to kill him.
And interesting thing, strategy games, also role-playing games. If you play them online, if you play a really fun thing to do online, go on to some guy's game he's running. Like, hey guys, I'm going to be playing Prussia in Age of Victoria, and everyone who participates in this thread is going to be a member of my council. We'll vote on our major decisions, and we'll all role play members of the nobility. And then like if obviously on some forums like, oh yes, as a smarter than dumb man, I believe House Hohenzollern will live through the years, unless my house, of course, takes its rightful place at the top. Or the communists, all the nobles are like, you guys, if we make things really shit, maybe we can start a communist revolution. Guys, if a communist revolution happens, you're all going to die. We'll re-roll characters as our children. Our educated children will naturally have a place in the revolution. Okay, the realm is asunder. Everything is on fire. God has manifested on Earth saying that shit is fucked. Everything is beautiful. We have a communist revolution. Okay, we're role-playing a communist revolution. Okay, guys, here's the thing. The Byzantine Empire still exists in this timeline for some reason. We need to export the workers' revolution. I cannot overstate how fun it is to role-play the son of a dead Prussian noble on a secret mission to Constantinople
to make communism
to bring communism to Rome.
to the oldest living empire on Earth.
Unfortunately, the Algonquin Empire of the United States has gone fascist. And I say that we cannot coexist. Socialism and barbarism must confront each other as the Jedi and Dark Jedi do.
So, one set of strategy games, and I don't know, one set of strategy games I absolutely love is Total War. I love Total War.
Yeah, and that's, yeah.
And Total War, I think, does a pretty good job of staying pretty apolitical. Like, I think it does, as much as it can, as much as the game can.
I mean, yeah. I mean, the assumption is you support a monarchy, though.
Hang on, wait. I'll think of one where you don't. I'll think of one where you don't.
Okay,
Hang on. So, Shogun, yeah, you're supporting. Hang on, Shogun. Technically, you're not, because you're supporting. You're supporting your daimyo.
Venice, Merchant Republic.
Yeah. Yes. We did it. We found a Total War game where you're not supporting a monarchy.
You can be a pirate.
Is that in Total War Medieval?
I don't know.
Is that in?
I never played Total War Medieval.
Which one is that in?
I don't know. It's in Europa Universalis and a bunch of others.
Okay, there you go. And that's
And Crusader Kings has some mods where you can become some kind of you can also become a feminist Catholic and export and force all men above a certain age to become eunuchs.
Wait. Strategy games where you play as the United Kingdom. That's a constitutional monarchy, not an absolute monarchy.
It's just yeah.
You've got that Magna Carta there sweetening the deal.
Yeah.
Still doesn't count.
Yeah, we've seen Well, like Mr. House says, if you want.
Edward VII sending his letter to Hitler.
It's like Fallout New Vegas, Mr. House. If you want to see the fate of democracies, look out the windows, and you see a bunch of trucks lined up outside the channel. We can't do anything because of Brexit. Who could have foreseen this?
So,
Brexit happened.
Brexit did happen since we did our last podcast. Yeah. It was official on December 31st at midnight.
Pop your confetti. We no longer suck as much as England.
No. What's funny is I fall into a horrible trap a lot. And it's the same trap that a lot of these smarter than dumb people do. And I can't help it because I find it so charming. I fall into this trap where if I'm reading a lot of British literature, I fall into this trap where I'm like, gosh, they're just so much more educated. They have a greater respect for their culture. They have a greater respect for their history. The British are just culturally superior to us Americans. And then I remembered Brexit, and I was like, oh, they're just as banal and fucking stupid as we are. They voted for that. Yeah, that was their choice.
Find me one Tory minister who is not a complete dolt.
No, hang on. I never once said that I supported the Conservative Party. I was just saying British culture in general. The Conservative, and that's what's odd. Ashley watched through The Crown recently.
Oh, yeah.
The acting's great.
Yeah.
It has great plots.
It's pretty good.
When you get to the season with Thatcher, though, you just want to tear your eyeballs out. Yeah, they didn't pull any punches with her.
No.
They made her as wicked and vile as she is. And the one thing I didn't like was they kept going back to her coming from a working class background, and they kept really, Thatcher came from a working class background. It's like, that isn't, and they didn't really cover the whole miners thing. They did it with the guy before Thatcher, whoever that was.
Yeah.
Because he's the one that started the whole miner debacle. She just, she sealed the deal. But,
the Aberfan, disaster.
No, Aberfan was Harold was Wilson.
Yeah.
Harold Wilson was actually prime minister during that, and he did did the best he could.
It's kind of it's the thing where like Labor Party had some it was a political appointee who got really comfortable with his job.
Yes,
and as a member of the Labor Party, it all reflected bad on the movement as a whole.
That's what I mean. He did the best he could because the fact of the matter was
you're going to get parasites if you're in power.
There's no such thing as the good party, as in every single member of this party is a good and upstanding person. John Wayne Gacy, Democrat.
Yeah.
God, I heard that so much through the years, and it's so sweet to hear that silence now from the other side.
Because now they support him.
Because now they're a party of nothing but John Wayne Gacy's. The Republicans, that is. But By the way, if you're a Republican and you're listening to the show and you don't like hearing that, we're fine with you not
Honestly-
listening anymore.
Honestly, bravo.
Bravo! Yeah, you made it this far.
Yeah.
We're just
We're talking about strategy games, except for not, because
everything's political. Don.
yeah.
Everything's
Okay,
politics.
so when you talk about video games online, you're going to see a communist or a fascist because those are the people who are really involved in trying
they
to
love
see.
video games.
Like the liberal Democrats are pretty okay with the way things are.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what? Okay, the world sucks, but we can make it a little better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then you got the other people online who like, no. This world is irreparable. The only way to save the world is to change it by going back into the past. And they inevitably make it worse. Brazil winds up in charge of Ireland for no reason.
So, let's kind of cap this off. What's the most benign? What is the most benign strategy game you've ever played? What is the one where you've encountered the least amount of political ideology going to the extreme?
Well,
and we both know which one is going to the extreme. Let's not make any mistakes. This isn't there's bad on both sides kind of deal.
Yeah, let's see.
Because on Planet Side, which is a shooter, not a strategy game, but on Planet Side, I remember you actually had your Hemingway moment in Planet Side, didn't you?
I was just playing the anime faction with the Goku Guild. We were just having we were just having fun, and then guys, it's so fun to just use basic tactics to win games and then have a laugh about it. But then a great evil arose. A guy who was in the military, so you have to respect him. He was kicked out of the Coast Guard for being too cool.
I was too badass, man.
He starts he builds a cult of personality around himself of other players who are younger, smarter than dumb. Mm-hmm. So they can guys, I follow orders. Unlike all these noobs who just run around shooting things. This guy, he's in the military. I'm following orders, and we win. Because there's a lot of those people on the internet, and he gathered them like Trump to him. Mm-hmm. And he's
kind of a microcosm of 2016.
And he had great power because of the people following him. And because he had great power, well, he must be doing something right. He must be strong.
Wealth is a sign that you've been blessed by the Lord.
Yeah, and this guy, he wasn't very good at the game. If you got him alone, you can beat him, but he'd always have his phalanx.
Yeah.
His Praetorian Guard. He literally called the Praetorian Guard because he's smarter than dumb.
Of course he did.
He's smarter than dumb. He's like, hey, have you seen this history book that I happen to have?
Did he have the Molon Labe?
Probably. He also made monkey noises whenever there was a confirmed black person fighting against him.
Ah, jeez.
Yeah, and that's when things really kicked off. This guy is a confirmed Nazi who was on here to recruit kids. It's 2013. Even then, it was like, okay, this guy is from Stormfront. He's here to get people really engaged, make them feel like they're part of something, make them feel powerful by owning noobs. There's only one thing we can do to take the piss out of this guy. We need to beat him. All right, anime group. Remember our battle cry. Lol, I'm gay. So we the Vanu have guns that just shoot disco balls. So we're a disco party. We're always dancing. We're never doing anything really. We just use basic tactics to beat this guy. And of course, we always beat him because when you get right down to it, they're a little smarter than dumb, but they're not that smart.
Right.
And then he left our circle, but he came back for revenge, and we beat him again. And we had a big celebration, and I stopped playing. Guys, good game, but I'm done with this. That was the final boss of Planet Side 2. Lol, I'm gay. You just gotta we don't take them seriously. Just be you, or whether you're gay or not, just say it. It pisses them off.
Well,
we know how to take them out now, gentlemen.
I think we've learned a lot about how to handle the alt-right online.
Yeah,
and that is don't play strategy games in the first place.
Or just do it and have fun with it.
So, signing off, I'm Beau.
I am Don.
And it's good to see you guys again.
Yep.